Welcome back to the deep dive. For months, we've really talked around the idea of AI in education, the potential, the philosophy, all that. Today, though, we stop theorizing. We're really digging into the sources you shared, the ones mapping out practical frameworks. How do colleges, universities actually evaluate, integrate, and use AI? Responsibly, I mean, across teaching, admin, student support, the whole thing.
That's exactly the mission today. Because the tech itself, whether it's, a big text generator or some specialized algorithm, just changes so fast. Trying to list every single tool, it'd be outdated tomorrow. So our focus has to be on, well, durable principles for actually putting this stuff into practice. We need to bridge that gap between the promise of AI and making it work effectively day to day.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
Principles that last. That makes sense, regardless of the next software trend. Let's start in a classroom. That seems like where the impact is most immediate, maybe most contentious too. What are the key instructional uses popping up in our sources?
Yeah, it really boils down to this balancing act. How do you use AI to get more efficient without sacrificing the quality of education? Or, critically, without losing that essential faculty oversight? AI should be augmenting the work, not, automating learning itself.
Okay, augmenting, not automating. So if the faculty role is shifting, where's the first big time saver? I'm guessing content creation, like lesson plans, syllabi.
Precisely. The first wave is really draft generation. AI tools are, frankly, pretty good at creating those initial passes at course materials. Drafting a syllabus, outlining assignment descriptions, even generating basic quiz questions, multiple choice short answer prompts. It definitely beats staring at a blank screen.
Right. Can we nail down a specific example? What does that actually look like for a professor on a Tuesday morning?
Okay, sure. Imagine a faculty member teaching intro stats. They could prompt an AI to generate some clear initial explanations of key concepts, things like standard deviation or, say, hypothesis testing. That output gives a professor a solid starting point, something comprehensive they can then tweak, refine, and make sure it aligns perfectly with their teaching style and the course goals.
That sounds incredibly efficient, but what's the catch? How do we stop faculty from getting, well, maybe a bit too reliant on it? If AI drafts the core materials, isn't there a risk that important institutional context or unique course aims just get lost in translation?
That is absolutely the critical caveat. And the sources, they were really clear on this. AI-generated content is just a starting point. It is never a finished product you can just plug and play. It demands careful faculty review. Why? Because AI can and does produce factual errors. Or sometimes it's more subtle. It might just fail to connect new ideas properly to what came before or miss the overall point of the course. You're essentially shifting the professor's job description a bit from being the primary content creator maybe to more of a chief editor and quality control expert.
That shift. Yeah, that makes sense. And it leads us right into feedback and assessment. This is often where students need the most help, but faculty time is just stretched so thin.
And this is where AI holds, I think, real promise, offering those high-frequency, immediate responses that can really support the learning cycle. We're seeing really powerful uses, especially in foundational writing support. AI can spot issues with grammar, organization, flow, even basic argument structure.
What about for more technical skills, coding, for instance?
Yeah, absolutely. In fields like computer science, you've got AI tools giving instant feedback on student code, highlighting errors, suggesting better ways to structure things. What's really interesting now is the discussion around defining roles for feedback. AI can handle the sort of mechanical stuff, the structure, freeing up faculty to focus on those crucial higher order concerns. Critical thinking, creativity, applying deep knowledge from the discipline. Making that distinction is key to keeping the learning quality high.
Okay, moving toward personalization. We hear a lot about adaptive learning systems, these AI platforms. How much human oversight do they really need?
Right. These systems tailor the content, the difficulty, the pace, how it's presented based on how each student is doing. If someone's acing the material, the system might speed things up. If they're stuck on, say, a prerequisite concept, it can offer reinforcement right then and there. Extra examples, maybe a different explanation.
So the system itself is making teaching decisions in real time. Does that raise concerns?
It definitely requires vigilance. Faculty oversight is absolutely essential to make sure the AI's path aligns with the bigger pedagogical picture. You need to watch closely that these systems don't accidentally narrow a student's exposure or worse, reinforce biases from the training data, things related to learning styles or demographics. That's a serious risk.
Okay, the instructional side feels like a huge shift, especially in managing time, but I'm guessing the really big efficiency gains, the ones that maybe impact the bottom line, are happening more on the administrative side. What's the impact there?
That's the next big area, absolutely. The main benefit here is, well, streamlining those routine, high-volume admin tasks. The idea is to free up faculty and staff time for activities that require more human touch, more personalized interaction.
Okay, highest volume tasks. What's AI tackling in the back office?
Oh, communication's a huge one. AI can draft initial emails, whip up meeting summaries, create first-pass answers for FAQs. Think about student services, fielding all those routine questions about registration dates, financial aid status, basic policies. AI can handle a lot of that initial contact.
Using AI for external communication, though, that sounds like it needs really tight control. You don't want the university sending out emails or policy docs that sound, robotic.
Exactly right. The rule here has to be strict. AI-generated comms need human review and editing. You have to maintain that personal voice, the right institutional tone, and, crucially, someone has to verify the facts before anything goes out the door.
Okay, communication makes sense, but admin headaches often come down to logistics, right? Managing rooms, schedules, resources. How is AI helping with the nuts and bolts?
Scheduling is a major one. It's complex. AI systems can analyze enrollment data, room availability, faculty preferences, all those variables to generate optimized course schedules. They can juggle multiple constraints at once, like needing specific lab equipment, room capacity, making sure required courses don't clash, all while trying to maximize student access. It's a heavy lift computationally.
And connecting that to the student experience, what about academic advising?
Advising has traditionally been very high touch, very personal. If AI starts handling course sequencing, that fundamentally changes the advisor's role. AI tools can look at degree requirements, a student's transcript, and suggest optimal course paths to keep them on track, avoid bottlenecks with prerequisites, that sort of thing.
Wait, let's pause on that. If AI does the mechanical sequencing, does that free up the human advisor for the really complex stuff, crisis intervention, mental health support, career planning, or does it just lead to fewer advisors?
Well, the sources really emphasize the first outcome. The ideal scenario is that it frees up advisors for those complex human-centered conversations. But that really depends on institutional choices. Are they prioritizing that shift in focus, or are they just looking at potential headcount reductions? That's a critical policy question.
And all this streamlining depends heavily on data analytics, right? Which is AI's strong suit. How is it boosting institutional research?
AI is brilliant at finding patterns in massive data sets. For IR, this means more sophisticated enrollment modeling, maybe predicting demand for specialized programs. But the really sensitive area is student success analytics, using predictive tools to identify students who might be at risk of struggling academically or even dropping out. This allows for, ideally, proactive interventions.
Predictive analytics for retention. Powerful, yes, but also, as you said, very sensitive territory.
Extremely. And connecting this back, using these tools, requires almost a legalistic attention to detail regarding privacy and bias. You have to be incredibly careful that the interventions are fair, equitable, and not accidentally penalizing students based on flawed or biased historical data.
Before we get into academic integrity, let's touch on those student-facing tools we see everywhere now, the 247 support bots.
Ah, yes, the virtual assistants, the chatbots. They're great for handling routine stuff around the clock, questions about deadlines, procedures, guiding students through applying for financial aid step by step. And they often offer multilingual support, which is a big plus for inclusion. The key guardrails here: keeping the information constantly updated and accurate, and, crucially, having a very clear path for escalating complex problems to a real human being when the bot hits its limit.
Okay, so if AI is doing all this drafting, summarizing, admin work, the output is only as good as the input, right? Which means we have to talk about prompt crafting. That seems like the new essential skill.
It really is. This is often the aha moment for people. Getting truly useful results from AI isn't magic. It takes skill. You need to learn how to ask the right way. If your prompt is vague, you're just going to get, well, generic digital mushback.
So to get good at prompting, we first need to grasp the limitations. What is AI actually good at, and where does it still, fall short?
It's fantastic at pattern recognition, synthesizing information that already exists, generating content based on the examples it's been trained on. But it really struggles with genuine creativity, accessing accurate real-time information or complex reasoning about situations it hasn't seen before. Truly novel problems are tough for it.
Knowing that, what are the basic rules for writing good prompts? What can listeners start using right away?
Okay, rule one, be specific, not ambiguous. Vague prompts get vague answers. It's like uh, briefing someone for a task. The clearer the instruction, the better the result. Instead of just asking to help with my course, you need to specify what level, what subject, who's the audience, what kind of help do you need exactly. Second, provide context. Give the AI the background info it needs. Prerequisite knowledge students should have, topics you've already covered, the reading level of the audience, all that helps.
And it probably takes some back and forth, I imagine.
Absolutely. That's the third principle. Iterative refinement.
Yeah.
Don't expect the first prompt to be perfect. Use the first output you get to figure out what didn't work, tell the AI, and then adjust your next request. Treat it like a conversation where you clarify things.
Okay, basics covered. What about more advanced tricks? How do we structure the request itself to get better results faster?
There are a few structural techniques. One big one is using role-based prompts, asking the AI to act as someone specific. For example, instead of just create quiz questions about biology, try acting as an experienced biology professor teaching non-majors, create 5 conceptual quiz questions about cellular respiration. Giving it that persona, that role, significantly improves the relevance and quality of the output. It helps focus its vast knowledge.
That makes a lot of sense. Give it a job description. What's another technique?
Break down complex tasks using step-by-step instructions. If you want a full lesson plan, don't ask for it all at once. Ask it first to define the learning objectives. Then second, propose 2 activities. Third, suggest an assessment method. Guide it through the process. And always specify constraints. Tell it the desired length, the format, the audience level. Maybe list specific things to include, or, just as importantly, things to avoid. Put clear guardrails on the task.
Okay, this structure is key, which brings us to, I think, the final and maybe most critical piece. Academic integrity and human oversight. All this tech dramatically shifts that conversation.
It really forces an evolution, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Traditional policies, the ones focused just on plagiarism or cheating, they have to expand. They need to address this new landscape of legitimate versus problematic AI use. We're seeing many institutions now requiring AI disclosure, treating AI assistants like citing any other source.
And we need really clear lines, right, between using AI as a helpful tool and using it to, well, do the work for you.
Absolutely. The guidelines have to clearly differentiate. Acceptable assistance might be brainstorming, using it as a grammar checker, maybe outlining ideas. Problematic use is when it does the core intellectual work of an assignment, and the student tries to pass that off as their own original thought. This needs huge effort in educating students and getting faculty input to make sure the policies actually make sense in the classroom.
And if AI can draft essays or solve problems, we probably need to change how we assess learning, too.
Assessment modification is crucial. We have to align how we measure understanding with the actual learning goals in this new AI world. That might mean shifting away from just grading the final product, maybe more focus on the process looking at drafts, more in-class assessments, maybe even asking students to explain how they used AI prompts to get their results.
Okay, finally then, wrapping this all together, what are the absolute must-have guardrails for quality, for human oversight across everything we've discussed teaching, admin?
Human agency has to be non-negotiable. That's the bottom line. You need continuous monitoring. Checking for accuracy, yes, but also actively looking for bias in how the AI operates, ensuring it isn't disadvantaging certain groups or learning styles. And most importantly, any decision that significantly affects a student's academic journey, grades, disciplinary actions, progression, must always keep meaningful human judgment in the loop. Professionals need to make the final call.
So the efficiency gains come with this ongoing need for vigilance, making sure students still have agency, choice, and clear ways to appeal if an AI-driven decision seems wrong.
Exactly. Successful AI use here is about augmenting human expertise, not replacing it. That, coupled with those prompt engineering skills we talked about, that's the combination.
This has been really practical, a fantastic journey through these sources. The goal wasn't finding the best AI tool, but the best framework for using it. And it seems like that framework absolutely depends on keeping humans, faculty, and students in control, and on developing this new skill of effective prompting.
So, maybe a final thought for you listening. Since AI is changing the game for both academic integrity and how institutions run, consider this. If we now have to explicitly teach students how to cite AI and use it ethically, what are those essential human skills that higher education absolutely must double down on preserving and developing? The skills AI still struggles with, like that complex reasoning in new situations or genuine creativity.
Definitely something to think about next time you interact with one of these systems. Thanks for this deep dive.
My pleasure. It was a great discussion.